Bring in Elton Hart, an attorney at UJ Law Clinics, to discuss this further. Elton, a very good evening to you. Thank you for your time. A significant week as the JSC holds interviews for judges and decides on two important disciplinary matters. What makes this process so significant?
No, it's indeed a significant process, because in order for our judiciary to function optimally, you need to necessarily fill these vacancies, because in cases where matters get appealed, you can't really get the necessary quorums for like the full benches to hear certain matters, and that can then delay proceedings. So I think it's very, very significant that these positions is filled, and also so that we can make sure that our court rolls are reduced, because if there's a lack of personnel, it can then also have a negative spin-off on the legal proceedings in various courts.
As you speak about that negative spin-off, we saw this enormous strain placed on the court having to navigate the highly contested 2024 national elections with only 2 permanent judges, when it was in actual fact supposed to have 5 members. What are the challenges?
No, the challenges is that one of the things is that maybe to find a person, because to these specialist courts, you can't really appoint any person. That person should have been a judge in one of the other high courts already, because this is now specialist courts that deals with specialist pieces of or niches of the law. So you need somebody with experience, and because the high influx of a very complex litigation coming into these courts, you need somebody with some sort of experience. And I think that is normally where the challenges comes in. And obviously also, if a machine is designed to be operated by 5, and suddenly you have 2 people, now suddenly there's a backlog on judgments. There's just a lot of administrative backlogs, because these courts also need to give stats to the various portfolio committees as to what they've been doing, and it can have a lot of spin-offs in various directions. And obviously the man on the street will just say that the courts are slow, but not knowing at the background, and also the financial constraints, because these appointments comes with budget. So in order to get budget from the budget speech that is currently hotly debated, the judiciary needs to get money so that they can appoint these people on a permanent basis and not have contracts, because if you have a contract worker, you have a problem of continuity being interfered with.
What has stood out for you throughout this process?
No, obviously it is the interviews. Obviously, for me, I would have loved to see that there's more candidates being interviewed. Obviously, with the electoral court, there's only one person, so sort of half he's suitably qualified. We cannot dispute that, but if there was more people, so that it gives us a variety of what we can choose from, and not to say, okay, we have this one person, and because we are with our backs against the wall, we have to appoint this person. Not that we're saying he's not a good quality individual to fill the role, but just for me, I would have loved to see more variety in that spaces.
Yeah, because we know the JSC has been under enormous pressure to fill 2 vacancies at the ailing electoral court ahead of the 2026 local government elections, with that one person only applying. I mean, it just goes to show how much pressure there is. But for one, there are 2 vacancies at the Competition Appeal Court. We know that the JSC not filling these several fully funded judicial vacancies, that in itself presents some sort of a challenge. Should we assume that perhaps none of the judges felt ready to serve permanently in such a court? I mean, how do we explain that?
It can be a variety of factors. It can be some people is just not attracted to that position at all. We might have the capable people, or people that feel that they are ready to take on that role, but they might not have the passion to actually go sit in that court, because the Competition Appeals Court is also a beast of a different nature compared to where you have your normal high courts, where you would get the run-of-the-mill, the normal type of litigation where people might be more drawn to. So that can be one of the reasons. One of the other other reasons, it might be also because the court might be under severe strain at this point in time, and the chances of you actually getting a promotion once you go maybe to the competitions appeals court, you might stay there, and maybe some of these guys have ambitions to go to the Supreme Court of Appeal and eventually the Constitutional Court. And I think if I'm sitting maybe in that side of the judiciary, it might make or hamper my chances, because I would not have so many judgments that I have written pertaining to certain matters. Because normally we know at the JSC they ask you what judgments have you written, on what was it, and these are the type of questions that would be facing candidates by the commissioner. So I think people might see it as some sort of a career killer for some, and some is just maybe they're not attracted to that position at all.
And what are your expectations, I mean, as we see this process out?
No, for me, my expectations is that all the judicial roles be filled, because that would be, for me, good as a legal practitioner. But also we need to sort of have look at our Minister of Finance to say, listen here, for years now, you guys have been making promises on the budget speed as to giving money to the judiciary to actually fill these vacancies so that we can actually optimally run our courts. And that is some of the expectations. But obviously the one for me is to actually give certainty to the judiciary so that we can actually have certainty in our courts, because they are important in making sure that there's checks and balances between the legislature, the executive, as well as the judiciary.
Very well. Thank you so much for speaking to us this evening. Wrapping up that conversation, Elton Hart, attorney at the UJ Law Clinics, giving us a sense of his expectations with the significant week of the Judicial Service Commission, holding interviews for judges and deciding on some important factors.